Chapter 3 6:30 p.m. Rick woke up on the couch. After he had got done doing his homework, he decided he would close his eyes for a few minutes on the couch while he waited for his mom to get home. Rick didn't realize how tired he was until he decided to rest on the couch. He had been asleep for about an hour and a half when he finally woke up. After getting his mind together, he rubbed his eyes and sat up on the couch, immediately reaching for his phone lying on the coffee table. He looked at his phone. Still no response to his text message from earlier and no missed calls. He tried calling his mom again, and the same as earlier, he just went straight to her voicemail. He got up from the couch and walked into the kitchen and found everything just the same as it was when he got home from school. He wandered through the house slowly, looking for any signs of where she might have gone. As he was looking around the house, it came to his mind that his dad should have been home at least a half hour ago. He looked in the bathroom of his parents' bedroom, thinking maybe he just hadn't heard his dad when he came home. There was no sign of either one of his parents. Rick walked upstairs and looked in all the rooms up there. Still no sign. He walked down the stairs and opened the front door. He looked at the empty driveway where his parents' car should be, and wondered where his parents were. Something just didn't seem right. 1,000 things were going through Rick's mind as he was starting to get worried. Rick tried to avoid his dad at all cost. He didn't know whatever happened to his dad to make him so cold and unfeeling and uncaring at this point in Rick's life, but he really didn't care anymore. He got tired a long time ago of trying to get his dad to pay attention to him and trying to get any kind of approval from his dad. Even though Rick really didn't want to, he was worried, so he dialed his dad's number on his cell phone and hesitated for a moment before pressing the send button. Rick's heart started to race a little bit and his hands were slightly trembling as he heard the first ring going through to his dad's cell phone. After the fourth ring, Rick's dad answered. "I can't think of you right now. I can't talk to you right now, and I sure as hell can't see you right now or else I will end up killing you." Those are the words that Rick heard coming from his dad on the other end of the call before his dad hung up on him. Rick was in shock and had no idea what he did to make his dad so angry. Rick just sat there for a moment before tears started to fill up in his eyes. He tried calling his mom's number again and got the same thing once more, and went straight to her voicemail. He hadn't left any messages on her voicemail before, but this time, when he heard his mom's voice saying to leave a message, he started to cry heavily. "Mom, please call me. Please answer your phone. Please just let me know what's going on." Rick took a couple of ragged breaths and hung up the phone. Rick wondered, should he call his dad back and try to get some more answers, or should he just leave him alone? He wasn't so sure what to do and was confused. After a few minutes, his mind was starting to make him crazy with worry and confusion. By this time, he wasn't just scared and confused. He was getting angry, and with a lot more confidence this time and no more hesitation, he called his dad back. After a couple of rings, his dad answered. "Stop calling. I already told you what I have to say for now." Rick said, "I will not stop calling until you tell me what in the hell is going on. Where are you? And where is Mom?" "Actually, I just don't give a shit where you are. Just tell me where Mom is." "You are never going to see your mom again," Rick's dad said. Rick raising his voice even more. "What do you mean? What have you done with her? What is going on?" Rick's dad in an angry voice replied, "What I did with her? What I did with her? Oh no, it's not what I did with her. It's what you did to her." Rick crying, saying, "I have no idea what you're talking about. I haven't seen her since this morning. That's the last time I talked to her. I don't even know where she is." Before hanging up on his son again, Rick's dad said, "Like I said before, I can't talk to you right now. I'll be home later, and if you know what's good for you, you'll be in your room when I get home, and I won't see you for the rest of the night." Rick tried calling his dad back again, and went straight to voicemail. His dad had turned off his phone so Rick couldn't reach him anymore. Rick tried again and again with the same result every time. Rick set the phone back on the coffee table and placed his face into the palm of his hands and uncontrollably sobbed, not knowing what was going on. After about 20 minutes of sobbing and trying to wrap his head around what had just happened, he grabbed his phone and started to look through his contacts. As he scrolled through the names, he couldn't find one person that he could call and ask if they knew what was going on. His parents both had left their family so long ago that Rick didn't have any extended family that he could call to try and get some answers from. He didn't have any other choice, and he was scared for himself and his mom, so he called the police. He told the dispatch that something weird was going on, and explained the phone conversation he had with his dad and that his mom was missing. The lady on the phone said that she would have an officer come out to investigate as soon as possible. It was a half hour later when the police officer finally showed up at Rick's house. It seemed like an eternity for Rick, just because he was so anxious for some answers and he was just starting to confuse himself more and more with all the thoughts and different scenarios that he was coming up with in his head. When the officer knocked on the door, it was the first time since Rick had gotten home from school that he was finally able to get a sigh of relief. Maybe the officer could get some answers. The officer came into the house and first off asked if Rick was alright. Rick told him he was not alright and proceeded to tell him about what was going on. Before Rick got too far into the story, the officer stopped him. Wait. Hold up. I already know what's going on. I talked with your dad a while ago. There really isn't much I can do for you now. I just took the call from dispatch so I could stop by and make sure that you were physically alright. Rick, feeling puzzled, asked, What's going on? Why does everyone know what's going on except for me? The officer told Rick that his dad had asked for the police not to talk to him about what was going on, but that he would talk to him when he got home. He wanted to tell him what was going on in his own way, and when he was ready. He just didn't want him finding out from some stranger. Find out what? Rick yelled. Is my mom alright or not? I have to know. I deserve to know. I'm sorry, son, the officer said. I can't tell you anything. Just try and stay calm. Watch some television. Do your homework. Or something just to keep yourself busy. Keep your mind off things until your dad gets home. Rick just shook his head, agreeing to do what the officer had said even though he was full of rage and anger inside. The officer apologized to Rick once more before letting himself out and leaving Rick even more confused than before. Rick was so upset and sick to his stomach and feeling emotions that he had never even felt before, and was so confused. His head was pounding and he was lightheaded and dizzy. His whole world seemed to be spinning out of control. The room was starting to spin and he felt like he was going to throw up and pass out. He shuffled his feet to move him towards the stairs. Using his hands to help him crawl up the stairs like a dog, he slowly climbed to the top where he then picked himself up. Using his hands against the wall to help him stay standing, he worked his way down the hall to his bedroom, closed the door behind him and stumbled to his bed and fell onto it where he curled up into a ball and just cried and cried until he finally fell asleep. It was about 1 a.m. when Rick woke up from crying himself to sleep. He was still in shock and a daze and he felt like he had been dreaming. He hoped to himself that it had all been a dream. After all, he was still very unclear on what was going on, and nothing seemed to add up, just like when you wake up from a very puzzling dream and you are trying to put everything together in your head. After collecting his thoughts for a few moments, he started to feel the aching in his heart and knew that it had not been a dream. He slowly and quietly sat himself up in the bed, not knowing if his dad had come home yet. He quietly got out of bed and walked through the dark to his bedroom door. He slowly turned the knob and opened the door just a crack. He could see the light from the living room downstairs that he had left on when he went upstairs, but still wasn't sure if his dad was home. He opened the door just wide enough for him to fit his body through the doorway. He walked from down the hall to the edge of the stairs, listening for any signs that his dad might be home. After a few moments, he slowly started to walk down the stairs. The 5th step down made a loud creak as he put his weight on the stair. He froze and waited to hear his dad's voice. After a few seconds of not hearing anything, he proceeded down the stairs until he reached the bottom. He quietly walked to the front door and slowly opened it, to look out into an empty driveway once again. He felt a sigh of relief that his dad was not home, but then started to feel the panic again of not knowing what was going on or what was going to happen when his dad did get home. Rick went to the couch and sat down and noticed his phone sitting there on the coffee table where he had left it earlier. He looked at it and it still had no new text messages and missed calls. Knowing that it would still be the same as before, he called his mom's cell phone one more time, just to hear it go straight to voicemail. He listened as he heard her voicemail saying that she can't answer the phone right now and to leave a message. He knew something was terribly wrong, and even though it broke his heart, it still brought some comfort for him to just hear her voice. When he heard the beep, he hung up right away and dialed the number again just to hear her voice. He did this 3 more times before it just broke his heart too much that he couldn't listen anymore. He set the phone back down on the table and just stared blankly at the wall. About 15 minutes had passed by when he saw the lights of a car shine on the wall from a car pulling in the driveway. Rick's heart started to race, and his whole body was starting to tremble. He knew his dad was home, and he had no idea of what to expect. His dad had told him that he'd better be in his room when he got home, but Rick needed some answers and wasn't going to let his dad intimidate him. He had to know, and he was going to get some answers one way or another. As Rick's dad's key turned in the door lock and the door opened, Rick was more scared than he had ever been in his whole life. The door flung open and Rick saw a look in his dad's eyes that he had never seen before. His eyes were red and angry, full of hate and pain. He knew his dad had been crying, something he had never seen him do, but he could tell because his eyes looked just like Rick's right now. "I told you to be in your room when I got home," Rick's dad said with anger in his voice. "I was in my room until just a little while ago," Rick said. Rick looked down at his dad's hands, and in them, he was holding a brown paper bag. At the top of the bag, sticking out, was the long neck of a whiskey bottle. Rick had never seen his dad drink before, and right away, this was cause for more concern. "You should probably get back to your room right now because I'm not stable enough to deal with you," his dad said. Rick replied, "I know something terrible is going on. I've never seen you drink before, and as much as I know you don't like me, even though I don't know why, you have never treated me the way you have treated me tonight. You are treating me worse than anyone would treat their own worst enemy. I need to know what's going on. I have to know." "Go to your room. Now," yelled his dad. Rick stood up and yelled back, "No. Give me some damn answers, now. I'm not backing down until you tell me what is going on." Rick's dad threw his bottle across the room, hitting the television, causing it to shatter. He then immediately rushed towards Rick, grabbing him by the throat and pushing him all the way to the back wall until Rick's back smashed against it. With a tight grip on Rick's throat, with the hurt and hate still in his red, swollen eyes, Rick's dad started to say angrily, "You want to know what's going on? I'll tell you what's going on. You, my little disappointment in life, you worthless piece of shit. Only your mother thought it was worth it to celebrate your birthday. She's the only one that loved you enough to try and make your birthday special. If you weren't